Hi, welcome back to my channel. I'm just bringing up my Goodreads for The Sister Effect by Susan Mallery. Now, I just read a book just before I read this one that touched on a very deep subject, okay? And then I turn around and I read The Sister Effect. And guess what? I'm not even bringing it up. I got hit with another deep subject, okay? Bear with me while I pull it up on my, by Susan Mallery. There we go. Now, it's called The Sister Effect. So what does that tell you? Obviously, it can't be any more obvious that it has to do with a relationship between sisters, right? I mean, the sister effect. And if you look at the cover, what do you see? You see two women on lounge chairs. So who are these two women? Well, the first woman that we'll talk about is Finley McGowan. Finley McGowan is pretty much the primary custodian or has primary custody of her 8-year-old niece. But Finley's mother, Sloan, is alive and well and actually has her daughter at least once a week for an afternoon. So why isn't Sloan raising her daughter? Why does Finley have custody of her daughter? Now, Sloan and Finley, as sisters, were fairly close, except their lives went in completely different directions. Sloan went off the rails from an early age, and I'm debating whether I'm going to tell you what her issue was. And Finley stayed on the straight and narrow. Now, Sloan did something that led to Finley getting custody of the little girl, okay? Now, when Sloan came back into her daughter's life, she got that very limited visitation with her daughter. But the thing is, for all intents and purposes, I'll say Finley, for all intents and purposes, Finley loved her sister, but did not like her at all. In fact, if she never picked up her little girl for visitation or darkened their doorstep, it would be just fine with Finley. That's what makes this a very emotional book, but even more than that. Sloan. I'm not, like I said, I've been thinking about if I was going to tell you her issue. I'm not going to tell you her issue, but it's a very serious one. And the thing is, Sloan does want to do right. I'll tell you one thing about Sloan. She now has a steady place to live and a steady job, but she has an issue. But she wants to do right. She wants to see more of her daughter. Can Finley and their mother trust Sloan to be there for her little girl? Or will Finley continue to be the primary custody of the young girl? Now, there's a romance in this book, and the romance in this book does affect some of the decisions that Finley makes. But no matter what decision that she makes, her niece's safety and well-being means everything to her. And if this means, in the little girl, her name is Aubrey, and no matter what, Finley will put Aubrey first. Now, Finley is trying to recover from a financial loss. And during this financial loss, one of the things that she works as a contractor, a plumbing contractor, but she also is trying to make a financial gain by flipping houses. So she has just purchased a property, and this property, if she can bring it up to code and get everything done on the property, she can flip the house and then continue and rebuild her financial stability. The question is, how does she lose her financial stability? Well, that plays into the story. In fact, There's a long history as to why Finley lost her financial security, why Finley has custody of Aubrey, and why Sloan lost custody, and what Sloan is going through right now. Now, this has a lot to do with forgiveness, letting the past go, and moving forward. But it also has to do with healing, because you can forgive to a degree without healing. But can you move on? Can you grow if you don't have that healing? So when you have redemption that comes from healing, then it can make for a healthy relationship. However, it's not a perfect book and it's not a perfect story. And our character Sloan is far from perfect. Now, if you look up reviews on this book, The Sister Effect, on Goodreads or NetGalley or Amazon, no doubt right away you're going to see the issue that Sloan has. But I'm not going to pass that on to you. I'll let you find that yourself, or I'll let you read the book and find it yourself. But all I'll say is that while you have one upstanding character, you have one very flawed character. But what you want, I think, as a reader is for these two characters to come together and to find healing within each other. And that's what I was looking for when I was reading this book. Now, one of the things that I liked about this book is that they weren't perfect. Even Finley wasn't perfect. She might have been fine, upstanding, rebuilding her financial history and working on a relationship and all this, that, and the other. But she had her own flaws. And when you read this book, you are going to learn that this issue that kept Sloan from being having primary custody of her daughter, played into the whole story. It was the thread that tied this whole story together. Okay? And then you have other characters. Okay? You have the character that Sloan is involved, the man that Sloan is involved with, and you have the man that Finley is involved in, and you get to see how that works out based on the issue that is right in front of them, that needs that healing to take place, that redemption, that forgiveness. Oh my goodness, what a deep story. What a deep story. Then there's another aspect of the story. Remember I said that Finley was seeing somebody? His name was Jericho. Okay, is Jericho. Jericho had a very sad story. Okay? And I would not want to be Jericho. Okay? And I actually can relate to Jericho more than anybody would even know. But Jericho's story made him the man that he is, but it also caused him to think about healing, forgiveness, and redemption for an entirely different reason. But yet, just as the issue that Sloan was facing was a thread to the story, Jericho's story was a thread to the story. And then when we see how his relationship worked or didn't work with Finley was based on his story. All of that in The Sister Effect by Susan Mallery. Now, I do want to check Goodreads because I have a feeling that this might be my 5th or 6th Susan Mallery book, but we'll know in just a moment. We'll know in just a moment. Sometimes Goodreads takes forever to load. Okay, there we go. So when I see her name come up for books, for requests for tours, I definitely take them. So it looks like, oh my goodness, I've read a lot of her books. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This is the 9th book I have read by her. I read California Girls, Meant to Be, The Friendship List, The Vineyard at Painted Moon, The Stepsisters, The Christmas Wedding Guest, The Summer Getaway, and The Boardwalk Bookshop. And most of these I gave 4 stars to, and most of them I gave 4 stars to, and several of them I gave 5 stars to. But I just want to tell you that I have a little bit of history with reading Susan Mallery, and I want to recommend this book to you. Alrighty, thank you for watching.